Good morning. We are going to see the practical tables, which are complementary to the practical guide of the Impel CAED project. Both of them are called CAED Toolkit. Below you can see different sheets of the Excel file of the practical table. This is for the terminology. This is for the explanatory notes for the use of the practical tables. This is for the color codes for the impact, state, pressure, and driver tables. And here we have the checklist for the screening of the potential environmental damage cases. And here we have the checklist to identify imminent threat of damage cases. Then we have the tables of impact, state, pressure, and driver components according to the ISPD model proposed by the CAED project. The practical tables, the ISPD tables, can be used for a complete assessment, namely during the whole investigation. They contain indicators that we will see together to conduct the screening of ELD cases, identify the imminent threat of damage, identify the clues of environmental damage, as well as the evidence of damage. Hence, the checklist for the screening of ELD cases and for identifying cases of imminent threat of damage are additional to the SPD tables and can be used independently for the specific purpose. Let's see in depth the structure of the tables. First of all, you should notice that below the sheets are divided into the impact tables for each environmental resource concerned by the ELD and also the state tables. In fact, we have the impact table on biodiversity, then the impact table on water, then the impact table on land. And then we have also the state table on biodiversity, the state table on water, and the state table of land. Instead, for the pressure table, it is addressed to all natural resources and also the driver table addressed to all natural resources. But let's go back to the table on impact on biodiversity, namely on protected species and natural habitats under ELD. First of all, you can see the structure of the table, which have at the beginning the check of the ELD applicability concerning the biodiversity. So you have here the list of conditions to use this table derived by the Environmental Liability Directive. Of course, if you are not still able to verify the precondition of the table, you may use the table anyway. Let's go the structure in depth. You can see that you can find different columns. The first column is dedicated to the objective, containing the evaluation objective of each group of indicators. Let's see the first one. The first objective is evaluate the relevance, reliability, and quality of data information collected on adverse effect after the event of potential damage. And here you can find all the indicators related to the first objective. The first column, in fact, of indicators contains the definition of each indicator. In fact, for example, you can see in the first row, species, natural habitats directly, indirectly affected. Then consistency between the data information about actual potential adverse effect and reference concept, and so on below. You have then a third column on description, which contains the description of the possible indicators' qualitative, quantitative values. Here you can find in the boxes the possibility to enter free text describing, as I said, the qualitative and quantitative value that you have for your case, or you can have, for example, drop-down list with already filled text, but you can also add free text anyway. Let's go on with the structure. After the column of description, you can find the column of evaluation containing the evaluation of each group of indicators grouped by objective. So you have here the possibility to write your evaluation related to the group of the first indicators here related to the first objective of the evaluation. Afterwards, at the end, you have the column of interim judgment containing the interim evaluation for each table of the case being investigated, where you can write here the evaluation of what you have found as data and information in relation to the whole table completed. You can find here in this table, but also in other tables, that you have specific sessions here, sections related, for example, here only to, with indicators related only to Natura 2000 sites. So you have objectives, 2 of this specific Natura 2000 sites, and you have here the indicators related to the 2 objectives. This is the structure for all tables. For example, this is the state table of biodiversity, which is equal to the impact table, but have this difference. Here, for the indicators for the baseline of the biodiversity, you have 3 options of descriptions. In fact, the descriptions take into account that you can have data or information at different levels, local site levels or higher level, for example, for species and habitat, biogeographical or national, and for bird species at national level. And finally, the highest level at European level for species and habitat and bird species. And then you have the same structure here. The same structure here for the impact for water, where, for example, here for water, you have a section for all waters, and then other sections with indicators, predefined indicators for surface waters, for coastal and marine waters, and for groundwater. The same for the state for water, impact of land, and state land. Instead, for pressure, you have, of course, as I said, the same structure. First, check of ELD applicability in relation to the pressure, namely to the damaging occurrence and damage factors. Then you find the same structure, where here, in particular, you have indicators related only to land. The driver, which is the table that helps you to identify the occupational activity responsible of environmental damage or imminent threat of damage, or if you already know it, to identify further evidence that this occupational activity is responsible. So the structure here is the same. So we've seen the structures of the table. Now we go to see the complexion of the table, and we can choose the impact table on water. Here is the impact table on water. We've seen that the table is useful to identify, to screen the cases of potential environmental damage, namely to identify potential ELD cases. You can see that you can find here different colors for the indicators here. So, which means that the different colors. The yellow colors, which can be found also here, is related to ELD applicability. So these indicators useful to identify ELD applicability. Then other indicators in fuchsia color are to identify, to screen the ELD case, to make, other than applicability, another screening of the ELD case, if it is an ELD case or not. These gray colors is addressed to the indicators that are auxiliary for additional information on the case. These indicators on orange color are related to indicators to identify the clues of damage as well as the imminent threat of damage. And here you can find the red color indicators that are the indicators that tells you if you found an evidence of damage or not. In fact, in the description column, you can express if you found this indicator, this evidence of damage or not, or likely, or if this indicator is also, for example, for your case, not relevant. As you can see, the first indicator is deterioration or change of the chemical status of the water of a water body, even for part of the water body. Another one is postponing as a consequence of damaging occurrence of the chemical status objectives established by the Water Framework Directive for a water body. And the last one is introduction of supplementary measures taking pursuant to Water Framework Directive Article 11 as a consequence of damaging occurrence to achieve or maintain the chemical status objectives established by the Water Framework Directive. So after that, as I told you, you complete the description column by choosing the drop-down lists or writing free text. Then what you do, you make the first evaluation. The evaluation and also the interim judgment related to the table can be also used, can be easily identified also by adding by the users on the description and evaluation columns the colors related to what you have found. For example, if you found favor or data or information for the identification of the clue, in both columns you can color the description of the indicator or the evaluation of the group of indicators in red color. If you found data or information that are unfavorable for the identification of the clue, you use the green color. If you have found data information not available, but here you can still decide to continue with the further investigation, you should express the possibility legitimately and needs and benefits of collecting required further information. The color code can be used also for the interim judgment column, where you, for example, in red color, express that you found clues of environmental damage, and in green color, you found absence of clues of environmental damage. This is the color code that you use to identify the clues of environmental damage in your table, according to the methodology. So as you saw here, in this column of indicators, you already have the colors of the indicators that says where you can find a clue or where you can screen the case or where you can find an evidence. Then you put the colors here, here, and here. Last thing is the last sheets where you can complete the table of results by describing what you found and which is your final judgment of the case. So completing the table, by completing the table, you arrive to your final judgment here, where you will say what you found, if you found clues of damage and or evidence of damage, or if you haven't found anything relevant for the case assessment. And in case you have found clues of damage, you will be requested to express if you found clues of natural resources or clues of damaging occurrence and damage factor plus natural resources. In this case, you are still required to express further investigation required here in the last box. Thank you very much.